For anyone who knows me, they know that I'm no fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. In fact, they're probably number 3 on the most hated team in all of North American sports. But even I'm getting tired of this shit show. So like a land dweller in the middle of a shark-infested waters, so are the days of us Steelers. I promise that will be the only urinating tree reference I make. However, I do have to say that this video is sponsored by SeatGeek. Unlike the Steelers management team, SeatGeek aggregates the price of tickets all over the world for public events and rates them on a scale of 1 to 100 from red to green. As an occasional user of the site, I can attest that the product is not a fluke. I've gone to 2 Royals games, 2 Thunder games, and a concert at Riverfest using the app to get the best deal on the market. Even if this is not enough, use the promo code MAGS to get $20 off your first purchase. Knowing how the Royals are going to be this year, I may as well purchase season tickets with how cheap admission will be. SeatGeek. Now, if any of you thought that that was a real advertisement, I don't know what to tell you. Ain't nobody going to be sponsoring this shit. That's for damn sure. On a more serious note, this drama has got to stop. Even as a fan of a rival team, this shit is starting to get old. It started last season with Le'Veon Bell holding out of a franchise tag $14.5 million for the entire season. If you're like me, that's pissing away more money than I will ever make in my life several times over. So excuse me for not feeling any sympathy for this goddamn sociopath that is too greedy to know a good opportunity if it walked up to him and hit him in the fucking face! Go fuck yourself, you incompetent piece of shit! But of course, it's the Steelers. It gets worse. After losing 3 straight games against the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders, the Steelers continued to get even worse both on and off the field. Antonio Brown was arrested going 120 and a 45 on McKnight on game day, yet wasn't punished in any way. Because Mike Tomlin doesn't know how to coach or is too spineless to admit when he made a mistake, he blamed sidelining Big Ben on an X-ray machine producing inconclusive results as the reason for why Big Ben wasn't put back in the game in a loss to the Raiders. Big Ben, in the loss against the Broncos, where he threw a terrible pass which led to a game-ending interception, instead of blaming himself for underthrowing the pass, blamed Antonio Brown for running the wrong route despite being commonplace for QBs to throw the ball where the receivers are, even if they ran the wrong route. You have to know where all of your options are. It's called peripheral vision. Either way, the throw was horribly underthrown, but instead of taking responsibility for his mistake, he pointed the finger, just like his coach. I wonder where this behavior is learned. Hint, hint. As if that wasn't bad enough, due to the Ravens beating the Browns and the Colts not tying with the Texans in Week 17, the Steelers missed the playoffs at 9-6-1, second in the AFC North. Instead of heads being placed on pikes for unbelievable failure with some of the best talent in the NFL, the management team did nothing and merely watched as their organization undergoes full-fledged mutiny. After being benched in Week 17 due to no showing every single practice and players' meeting that week while also refusing to take mandatory drug tests and MRIs, Antonio Brown left the field at halftime in a victory against the Cincinnati Bengals. I agree with the coaches in that matter. A good rule of thumb when it comes to conduct is this. If you wouldn't want to see the president do the same thing, then you probably shouldn't act that way either. If President Trump refused to take a drug test, would you excuse that behavior? If no, then you shouldn't be excusing Antonio Brown for that. The Steelers organization have an ethical and moral responsibility to know that their players are not under the influence of drugs before they let players compete. If you skipped out on 6 days of work as a no-call, no-show, you'd either be fired or demanded an explanation. Why is there a different standard for athletes who take a vow not to engage in illegal or banned substances when they sign their contracts? Coach Tomlin, don't think you'll be getting away with this shit either. Due to your behavior and philosophy on not disciplining anyone for anything, you have allowed a culture to fester in your locker room that is killing the team. When Danny Amendola requested more playing time with the Patriots, he was immediately disciplined by refusing to offer him a contract, so he signed with Miami. Instant punishment for undesirable behavior right then and there. Instead of mimicking basic psychological science, you've allowed a once proud organization that prided itself on the Steeler way and turned it into a colossal mess with no sense of honor or pride. Antonio Brown had obvious character concerns both on and off the field, but that's okay. We'll sign him to the biggest fucking contract extension a wide receiver has ever gotten in NFL history. At the time. Le'Veon Bell demands more money and more years on a team that's already struggling with cap issues. I know, franchise tag him and throw more money at him. Big Ben has no leadership qualities at all and has costed his team several key games that led to the Steelers missing the playoffs. But, we can excuse his behavior because he won 2 Super Bowls. Speaking of Big Ben, I got a bone to pick with you. How deliciously ironic is it that you're demanding the team to follow you as their leader and give them shit for being immature when you did exactly the same fucking thing when you were younger? And let's see. Remember walking out on several $1,000 tabs in local bars despite being a multimillionaire and father? What kind of precedent does that sell for your son? Remember the motorcycle accident and how you almost died from your immaturity? Telling everyone else to act like a professional has got to be the most out-of-touch and hypocritical thing I have ever heard. You first, Captain Fatfuck. It amazes me how the media will do nothing but suck your dick, even with the rape allegations. Wait, that came out wrong. Then again, that is something that a rapist would say to their victim. Fitting. God, I'm a horrible person. But I'm still not as bad as Captain Fatfuck. That dude is the shit stain on the underwear of life. But I digress. How can the Steelers climb out of the hole that they've dug themselves into? First off, Coach Tomlin has got to be fired. I know that it is not the Steeler way to fire coaches, but it is also not the Steeler way to let James Harrison continue playing football after he beat the fuck out of his wife because she didn't want her son to be baptized, or let Michael Vick wear a Steelers uniform after he was convicted of running a dogfighting ring. Tradition has to be broken, and it starts by firing the fucker that got you in this position to begin with. Next up, you have got to, as in this is a requirement, keep Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner while hiring an offensive coordinator that doesn't take shit from his players. An ideal choice would be Andy Reid, but he won't be available due to competing for Super Bowls in the next few years with the Chiefs. So just find one and establish a new culture that mimics the Steeler way. Third, try to get rid of him in any way possible. He is still a serviceable QB for now, but age and frustration of having a coach that won't tolerate his antics will take a toll on the man, and I don't think you guys want another Antonio Brown on your hands. Do not extend his contract, and if he becomes a serious locker room problem, demote him from captain. Lastly, hire scouts that don't throw darts on the drafting board and call it a day. If Pittsburgh wants to continue their success, they need to be able to draft new talent in the case that their O-line disperses or they find themselves in cap hell. Drafting TJ Watt for the sole reason that he's JJ Watt's brother wasn't inspiring. And I better not see lazy drafting from the scouting again in the future. The Steelers are still competitive despite their unbelievable drama that would tell you otherwise. But know this, if you want to continue to the path that you've dug yourself in, be my guest. Nothing lasts forever, and nobody will mourn you when you do, and will collapse. You need to change. It's just up to you guys to do it. We're all waiting. Tick, 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 tick.